Hi guys, welcome back to the Welsh Rugby Roundup Show, the Dragons Balls, part of the three-bod rugby group. Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe and like the video and get involved in the comments below. I'm joined, of course, by my co-host Ben, and today we're going to discuss the Rainbow Cup. We're going to discuss what will this mean for the Welsh Regions, how will they look to approach the competition after the news, of course, about the South African sides, which we'll get to in a second. But before we crack on, Ben, how you doing, man? You well?
Yeah, very good, buddy. Excited that we're actually going to get a bit of rugby this weekend now. I know we looked at early stages of the week that we might not. But yeah, good to see some rugby. And, well, let's be honest, from a Welsh point of view, be exciting to see some youngsters coming up and through.
Exactly. That's certainly something we're going to talk about, is how the clubs will look to approach it. If you've been living under a rock over the past few days, let us help you out with what's going on with the Rainbow Cup. So this announcement was released a couple of days ago regarding the Rainbow Cup. Of course, with COVID, everything has been a little bit difficult. So this is what the Pro 14 CEO, Martin Anayi, I think that's how you say it. I might have butchered that name. I do apologise if I have, but he says this: a staggering volume of work has been undertaken to provide a number of proposals and options to accommodate this, all as we navigate the challenges of the second and third waves of COVID-19, as well as the South African variants, which constantly change the landscape we're operating in. Among our unions, our own staff and South African rugby, there was no more that could have been asked in terms of designating plans that were medically sound. However, there has been no perfect solution found in time to allow for South African teams' entry into our territories. Whilst the outcome is clearly different from what we had intended, our relationship and partnership with South African rugby has been greatly strengthened and enhanced by this experience. We are looking forward to the two Rainbow Cup competitions and in due course sharing our intentions about our future partnerships that will be boosted by the experience and project planning involved to this point ahead of the 2021-22 season. And so what that means, therefore, is that we now have two competitions. We have, of course, the Rainbow Cup up here in the Northern Hemisphere, as the Pro 14 sides will face each other, and the four South African sides will play against each other in South Africa. Good to see that the South African games will still be shown here in the UK and Ireland. And as in that statement alluded to, long-term partnership between the Pro 14 and South African rugby to be announced soon. Ben, your thoughts on the announcement? Not a real surprise, was it?
No, mate, I'll be honest with you from the word go. I know I mentioned it to you a couple of times. It's almost as if they thought it was a good idea to plan a cross-continental tournament in the middle of the world's biggest global pandemic that we've ever seen. And then they thought, oh, do you know what? Where we've got a brand new strain of COVID, yeah, we'll bring four sides across from there just to really just test the waters. I think from the off, it was one of those things where it was style over substance. There was no real backing for it, especially in the times that we are. You know, the game is in a particularly volatile position at the moment where only really the elite have gone back to any form of normality. So I think to expect then four South African sides from one of the most highly concentrated infection rates at COVID to then bring those sides across, I just thought from the word go it was bad news. But the fact now that we've got two tournaments, so we've got a repeat of the four South African sides playing each other, and we've got a repeat of the Pro 14. So just a different name, really.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's it really changes the way that clubs are going to approach the competition. Now, you know, for people who don't know, I'm an Ospreys fan. Ben, bless him, is a Cardiff Blues fan. Someone has to be a Blues fan. But the excitement's gone. You know, the only reason I care about the Rainbow Cup now is I want to beat the Blues on Saturday night. That's all that I really care about now. And obviously you'll want to beat the Ospreys. And let's talk about the four regions then, because they're obviously going to have different mindsets. And let's talk about your region first, the Cardiff Blues. Of course, Dai Young spoke openly and honestly yesterday with the media and said that they are going to look to chop and change. How do you feel about that, and how would you like to see the Blues approach this competition?
Well, I mentioned it in the chat on the Ulster White Walkers show on Monday night. This is the perfect post-preseason opportunity for sides now. Players that they might not have been able to get a full look at in the condensed season that we've had this year now will be able to have a chance. players that perhaps are trying to find their way back to fitness before potential Welsh tours and potentially Lions tours in the summer. Who knows? But the Blues are definitely one of those sides where they could have benefited from this period, this sort of mini pre-season that I'm calling it now, because obviously we had the news that Matt Sherratt's coming back to take charge of the backs as of next season. Dye has just signed his contract that he's going to be the permanent director of rugby. So it's definitely a lot of change down at the Blues. And I know that it's a period that they're excited about. If you read everything that's coming out, you know, that the signing of Jared Evans really did emphasize what they're looking to do moving forward. And it'd be a great opportunity to see the likes of Ben Thomas, Mason Grady, especially, you know, the boys that have got through to the Welsh side that need a little bit more Blues time maybe. So maybe James Botham might get a chance back in that back row. But yeah, be nice to see them take a sort of a mixed approach. I think they should go all out to beat the Ospreys on Saturday. Please. For those of you that don't know, myself and Brandon have made a wager so that we regularly feature on each other's YouTube channels, and we've said that if whichever side wins on the weekend, the opposite fan have got to wear a shirt of that team for the next video that we work together on, which I'm not looking forward to because I've got an Osprey shirt and it's in a very dark corner of a cupboard. But yeah, back to the proceedings. I hope the Blues do try and give some players a good run out. Like we say, you know, the likes of Halaholo. He was involved in the Welsh setup throughout the Six Nations. Jared Evans, similarly. But minutes played are quite low down. So be good to see them get some rugby under their belts. But then, like I said, bring some of the youth through. Give some of those younger guns a chance to show what they're made of. And bring some players back that maybe need to find a little bit of fitness and a little bit of match fitness before potentially big summers for them.
Yeah, it's very important to remember that there is potentially a summer tour for Wales to Argentina and Uruguay. There's also the Lions tour, which is going ahead. And many of the players there will be looking and thinking, do I really want to play in this competition where potentially I could get injured ahead of such an important tour for myself, to the Lions or to Wales? If we look at the Blues in the Pro 14, finished fourth in Conference B, won 8, lost 8. I always feel like the Blues underperform. If you look at their back line, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. I'd say it's better than the Ospreys. But I can't believe I'm saying that. But I think you got to say that the Blues massively underachieve in the Pro 14. Do you think that, is there any pressure on the Blues to do well in this competition, or is it all about just give youth a go, do you think?
I think if you look at, and you're spot on, mate, with the players that the Blues have got in that back row, that back line, they really should be firing tries across the field, left, right, and centre. And I think if you watch the Blues on a very, very good day, they play some of the best rugby you can ever imagine. I always take myself back to December a few years ago, and we played the Scarlets, and we scored 6 tries in the first half, and it was just some of the best rugby I think I've ever seen us play. And when it clicks, my God, does it click. But like you said, with a lot of players coming in, you know, you've got to realise Josh Adams came in at the start of last season, COVID hit. So he hasn't had as much time, as he would like, because, you know, he's played what would have been 7 games this season for the Blues now. But he really needs to start to try and find his feet in the way that the Blues play. We talked the likes of Hallam Amos as well. Until he got his call up to the Welsh squad, he was quite familiar in that Blues side. But as a unit, they haven't had that chance to perform together and to play together at that highest level. And I keep saying the highest level, and I know that there'll be much tougher challenges to come. But with the Rainbow Cup now, it is almost, you can play this as almost like a mini tournament amongst yourselves, and you take it as seriously as you imagine. You know, Dye said that it's going to be a mixture of youth and experience in there. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes about it. But yeah, definitely chance now for those players to bed in and start playing the rugby that Dye Young wants to play.
Yeah, I think the way I would look at it is it's going to be similar to the Amlin Cup, how that was approached a few years ago. Give youngsters an opportunity and see how they do. But excited to see some young players coming through, especially Ben Thomas. And let's move on to my team, the Ospreys. They, of course, finished 3rd in Conference A, 8 wins, 8 losses once again. I think for me, as an Ospreys fan, and then I'll get your point as an outsider. For me, I think this season we've shown glimpses of what we can do, and I think we've had a real good stability under Toby Booth. But it's very obvious that we have very key players. If we don't have the likes of Milo or Webb at 9 and 10 controlling the game, we tend to struggle. But encouraging to see the likes of Kieran Williams coming through. I think he's very, very exciting, Scott Gibbs-esque. And I think he definitely should be looking to go on the summer tour this June to Argentina and Uruguay. I think he's an exceptional talent. But for you looking in at the Ospreys, again, as a whole picture really for Wales, I guess, is it, again, same as the Blues, given the opportunity to the youngsters, developing Toby Booth's plans a little bit more and seeing how it goes, do you think?
For me, mate, I think it's a perfect opportunity for the Ospreys because they've been spending an incredible amount of money and they've been players signing left, right and centre. I know some of the signings they've made, they haven't had to put their hand in their pocket for, apparently. We hear the Jack Morgan from the Scarlets, the young and exciting talent coming through, is signed on a free. But they've brought a lot of new players in, and this is a perfect bedding in opportunity for them. Like you said, not a lot on it, not a lot the sides are going to be taking seriously, but they've brought in some really, really exciting players, as well as securing the names of some of those top players that they rely on for next season. For me, the Ospreys have lacked a little bit of direction since Myler's injury and Webb. I don't think Webb's injury is something that they need to be concerned about because they've got some really nice scrum halves coming through. I really like the look of Ruben Morgan-Williams. He's definitely one to watch out for in terms of Wales for the future. But 10, I think even though the Ospreys have 2 reserve outside halves, that's the gap between the control and the experience that Myler shows on the field. They're poles apart from the other options that they've got available at the moment. So if Myler is fit, he'll probably play a half, 60 minutes maybe, but give these youngsters a chance now to really start to bed themselves in against the teams they'll be competing against next season. You know, we know it's not going to be a true reflection, but it's a perfect chance. And I think for me, bite my tongue when I say this, the Ospreys are going to be one of the most exciting sides to watch this year. If you look at the style of rugby they've played under Toby Booth and the direction that they're going in, I think the Ospreys have got big things to come, especially now that they're dining back at the top table of Europe.
Yeah, I think we've got a solid platform. We build our team on discipline and defence. We're actually one of the lowest teams in terms of tries scored and meters made, but we are very solid in defence. And then we have that control from the likes of Myler at 10. I'm really excited to see young Joe Thomas at 10. I want to see more of him. I think when he's come off the bench and had opportunities, he's done very, very well. I'd like to see more of him. So for me as an Ospreys fan, similar to you, mix of both. I want us to go for it, but I also want to see youth given a chance. And if that means we lose a couple of games, I'm not all that fussed. I just want to see them given an opportunity. Let's move on to the next region, which is the Dragons. The Dragons this season, tough season for them, finished 5th in Conference A, but a good finish to the season. And as well, pushed Northampton pretty close. We did have a deeper chat about what happened in Europe for the Welsh Regions. But for the Dragons, the big news, of course, Nick Tompkins has gone back to Sarries. But apart from that, it's going to be a pretty consistent team because you'd imagine not all that many players will be looking to go on tours this summer. So do you think the Dragons could see this as an opportunity?
I think, you're spot on, mate. I think towards the end of the season, out of the 4 regions, the Dragons were the side I enjoyed watching the most because, like we've said on many occasions, you know, Dragons, although, you know, you can almost say that out of all of the regions, they have the lowest representative in terms of internationals. That's not necessarily a bad thing because they're allowed to maintain this continuity throughout the season. They bring through a good crop of players, and those players have had experience at this top level whilst internationals are away. I really, really like the look of the Dragons squad as a whole now. And like you said, Tompkins going, you know, it's a sad loss, but Jamie Roberts has put pen to paper and he's staying at Rodney Parade for another year. You've got the young centre, I think it's a Nyron Owen, I think. He's coming through and he looks so composed in that midfield. He really is going to be an asset for the Dragons moving forward. Obviously, we saw the unfortunate injury to Ashton Hewitt, but he's another one that's been there for the Dragons all season. I'm sure he picked up an award at the Pro 14 Awards for something like the most minutes played this season. So as a squad, they've got a really, really nice group building that are there week in, week out. And you know that when the internationals come around, you've only got to make a handful of changes, and those changes, you've got quality players coming in. You lose the likes of Wainwright, but then you see the likes of Ben Fry coming through the academy series, and working as well as he is in that Dragons team. You've got young Ben Carter as well. Really, really like the look of him. It's an exciting time for the Dragons, because I think Dean Ryan, he's persevered and he's worked really, really hard with this group of players. And this is going to be another opportunity, because, like you said, they pushed Northampton all the way in that game. And I think it may have come down to a little bit of game management, may have come down to the fact that they haven't been in that situation for quite some time. So we were almost thinking, although we were gutted as Welsh fans that they were out, you've got to think of everything positively. And you think that in that game, they pushed one of the best sides in the Premiership all the way. Yes, they were weakened slightly, but again, a Premiership side against a Pro 14 side, we've seen how it happens, and they did really, really well to push them the way that they did. But yeah, in this Rainbow Cup, sorry, I nearly said Pro 14 again. It's almost as if there's not any difference. But yeah, I think the Dragons are just going to carry on building now. Carry on building. They've got a really nice core of senior players. You look at Sam Davis now, he is considered, 27 years of age now. He's considered one of the more senior players in the squad. Jamie Roberts is. And they're really going to push forward next season, and this is the perfect springboard to push them into next season.
Yeah, I think the Dragons are certainly going the right way. I really like Dean Ryan and the way he manages the players and the way he speaks. And also, I think they've got some key players there. Obviously, Ashton Hewitt's a big loss, but as you said, Sam Davis struggled a little bit at the Ospreys, but I really feel like he's found his place at the Dragons and has really cemented that fly-half position as his own. Hodry Williams at 9, very, very experienced, and is the captain, of course. Leon Brown, international. Ross Moriarty, out of the Wales squad at the minute, but certainly puts a shift in. I just want to see the Dragons, as you said, continue to build, look to give a few youngsters a go. And I think the message from everyone at all 4 regions, just before he gets to Scarlets, will be, go out, try different things. There's no pressure. I think fans will be understanding of that as well. Yeah. I'm not all that aware of many fans who are really all that bothered about the results of the matches, but obviously we want to see our teams do well, but we want to see young players coming through. The final region then, the Scarlets, of course, they managed to finish 3rd in Conference B. Again, 8 wins, 8 losses. Interesting for the Scarlets, of course, you made a video on your channel about it. Dwayne Peel leaving, well, not joining the Blues, Scarlets. As far as I'm aware, he's not going to be involved yet, is he?
No.
So he's not going to be involved yet. But do you think that will build a confidence there, a boost? Do you think that will provide a boost for the team?
Yeah, I think, for any of the sides in the Pro 14 that have come up against Ulster this year, they know just how good a coach the Scarlets have gained in Peel. You've got to say, in terms of attack-wise, Ulster have been one of the most threatening sides across all the season in the Pro 14. And for me, they're going to push right up to the final of this Challenge Cup as well. But like we say, this is an opportunity for the Scarlets boys. They've got a little slightly more concerning thing that they've lost Jack Morgan, and he's going across to the Ospreys. So they need to start looking at giving some of those players an opportunity now to see who their next Jack Morgan is, who their next number 7 is going to be for the season moving forward. And like we know, if you look in nationally and especially towards the Lions, the Scarlets are going to lose a lot of their players eventually over to the national setup as they prepare for their summer tour, should it go ahead, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's going to be a period of transition from the Scarlets. Obviously, Dwayne Peel is going to come in as head coach, with Glenn Delaney taking a more senior approach as a director of rugby. But I think those two, Glenn Delaney's attitude is to go out and play rugby, and that with the fine-tuning of the skills of Peel next season, Scarlets should be back up competing where we saw them a few seasons ago, where they get into the semi-final of European competitions and even winning the Pro 14 competition a few years back as well. So, not so much, I think, a focus for the players in this sense. I think it's more a case of trying to identify themselves and how they want to play moving forward, and how Peel can integrate within that system as well.
I think the Scarlets are a really interesting region. They probably pay play the best rugby. We got to be honest, they probably do. My only criticism of them is sometimes do they know when to play and when to just play simple rugby? Sometimes put boots and ball, or sometimes, go through a few, just carry the ball into contact, get a safe escape and everything like that. I think Peel will provide a massive boost to the players, even if he's not there at the time. I think Glenn Delaney's move upstairs is very interesting, and that's something you alluded to in your video. By the way, both the links to our channels will be down below, so if you haven't yet checked them out, make sure to do so. But the Scarlets, of course, are playing the Dragons this weekend, while the Blues are playing against the Ospreys. Those are the fixtures. Now, interesting for me is that the Irish sides, I've seen Ulster and Connacht's side, and they're both picked strong teams.
Yeah.
We are both of the impression that the Welsh Regions won't. Why do you think that is, that the Irish teams are looking at this competition a little bit more seriously? Because Ulster and Leinster are still in Europe, and they have serious chances of winning those competitions. So why do you think that is?
I think if you look back to the show Monday that the guys over at the Ulster White Walker show did, Ulster still have a competition to win, and quite rightly so. But unlike the Premiership opposition, who will be playing in Premiership games in the build-up to that game, Ulster haven't got any competitive games in the build-up to that semi-final now. So they still have to go in with that. They need to maintain the consistency. They need to maintain the form. They alluded to it in the show that there were a couple of players that were coming back from injury that were perhaps deserving of some minutes, some players that they want to take a look at. But you look at that Ulster back line, and that's not far off first choice. So I think that they really are going for it. But I think for them, it's more a case that they want to establish the game plan that they want to go into the Leicester game with. Because, like you mentioned, they've got bigger fish to fry. Haven't seen the Leinster side as yet, but I would assume that considering it is a Leinster-Munster game, they will go relatively strong as well and try to make sure for them as well that they get the best preparation possible before they take on La Rochelle.
Yeah, indeed. Let's quickly then, just before we go, give our predictions for each of the games. So if we go 30 seconds on each game, how do you see Ulster Connacht going? For me, I've got to back Ulster. I think they play an exciting brand of rugby, and they'll have their eyes fixed on Leicester, but maybe look to try a few things out. But for me, Ulster to win. Do you agree?
Yeah, got to be Ulster for me, mate. That back line is amazingly talented, and I think that they're going to... It'll be tight, but I think they'll run away with it towards the end.
Okay, next up then is Edinburgh Zebra. Pretty simple one for me. Edinburgh, although they've had a poor season, they've got a lot of internationals coming back, and who will have had a bit of game time with the side over the last few weeks since the end of the Six Nations. For me, Edinburgh to win this one by 10 to 15 points. Do you agree?
I'm going to put my neck out on the line. I like the way Zebra have built. They're starting to play some really nice rugby this year now. And again, they're all about growth at the minute. I'm going to say Zebra pinch it by 3.
Ooh, okay. Putting your neck out on the line there. Interesting. Benetton against Glasgow is an interesting one. Benetton obviously didn't win a game this season, but played some good stuff, had some really close games. Glasgow had another disappointing season, similar to Edinburgh. I think we could see a surprise here. I think Benetton could do it. Do you agree, or do you think I'm chatting shit?
It's weird with Benetton because I watched them against Bath. No. Who did I watch? Montpellier, sorry. And they looked really good in patches. And I got to be honest, they really did look like a side that knew what they were doing. But like you said, there are other times where they switch off completely and they look like they've never played rugby before. So I think if they can keep a performance up for 80 minutes against a Glasgow side that will have players coming back in, but also have been without these players for the majority of the season, I think you could see an upset. I'm going to say Benetton by 3 to 5.
Yeah, I agree. We actually agree on something, but I don't think we'll agree on the next game. Ospreys against Cardiff Blues. I'll be doing a watch along live on my channel, so link in the description for that. Ben will be joining me. And the bet is simple. If the Ospreys win, Ben has to wear an Osprey shirt in his next video on his channel that we do together. And if the Blues win, please no. If the Blues win, I'll have to wear a Blues top, maybe even get Lloyd Williams written on the back. I'll have to wear that in my next video that I do with Ben. I am going to back the Ospreys to win.
Of course.
But but I'm not going to be overly confident. I'm not going to be overly confident, but I'm going to back the Ospreys to win. Surely you've got to back your team, Ben, or you're going to do the unthinkable.
Well, we can go about this one of two ways. Do you want the professional sort of well-considered opinion, or do you want my head in a Blues bubble opinion?
Isn't that the same thing for you?
All right, then. Jared Evans is going to score 17 tries and we're going to beat you by over 100 points. That's my one. No, I think it'll be quite an open game, and I think that the coaches will go into it and say that they want it to be an open game and they want the players to be able to express themselves. But I think at times they will have to hunker down. I don't know if Myler's available, and if he is, that'll definitely make a massive difference to them. But like we said, we'd love to have seen the teams today so we know how this game's going to go roughly on paper. But for me, it's got to be the Blues. Allez le bleu.
Well, the team should be out by the time I've edited this video, so they'll be up on the screen over the course of us chatting there, so you'll know who is playing. Next up then is a massive Irish clash, a repeat of the final of the Pro 14, Leinster against Munster. Leinster, of course, will have one eye on La Rochelle. Massive game, this one, down at the RDS. Doing another watch along for this one on my channel. Who you backing to win this one? I think you've got to look at Leinster. They're just so professional, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they'll be looking to right a few wrongs that maybe went away from them in the Exeter game. And by that, I think I mean the first 10 minutes, maybe. That, because... as Exeter have alluded to, they knew that Leinster were going to come out the blocks at them. So they just had to be that little bit quicker. And I think they shell-shocked them. But I think this is going to be a completely different kettle of fish. Leinster is such a professional, well-run outfit. Doesn't look like Sexton is going to be available for that game. So interesting to see whether they go for Ross Byrne, the reserve 10, or whether they go even lower down and bring up his younger brother, Harry Byrne, to get involved, maybe. But yeah, like you said, Leinster are building towards a big semi-final in Europe. And yeah, for me, Leinster by 10.
Yeah, I think Leinster are such a good oiled machine, aren't they? Everyone knows their job. They do it very well. And once that machine gets going, it's so difficult to stop it. And if they can put anything close to the levels that they showed against Exeter after that early 10 minutes, then I think Munster could really struggle here. But again, it'll be interesting to see how both teams approach it with their team selection. And then, of course, the final game then for us as Welsh fans, will be keeping an eye out on this one. Dragons against Scarlets. Tough one to call this one. Down at Rodney Parade. It's a lunchtime kickoff. How do you see this one going?
I'll be honest, mate. I fancy the Dragons. I really, really do. I think if you look at the Dragons traditionally anyway, in league format, their performances against Welsh Regions, they always pick it up a notch. And they're never blown away by other regions. It's always pretty close. As the Ospreys found out when they played down at the Brewery Field, the Dragons winning that one by two scores at the end. So you never know. But I think for me, I want to see the Dragons go out and execute the game they played against Northampton with a few small tweaks to their management of the game towards the final third and keep an eye on that discipline. I think they could do it. I think they could beat the Scarlets. So I'm going to say the Dragons. Go on, I'm going to go confident, not sitting on the fence. Dragons to win.
I think the Dragons have the ability to win this match, and they'll certainly target it. Again, I think the big thing for them is discipline. If they can keep their discipline, then they can beat the Scarlets team. Because as I said before, I do feel like the Scarlets sometimes play too much. And they don't understand when it's right to play. They don't earn the right to play, and they don't have the platform to play. Go on then, I'll go with you. I'm going to back the Dragons to win as well.
Come on,
I
boys.
think the Dragons are gonna get the job done here. 3 to 5 points. Jamie Roberts is going to try. He's going to come down that 10 channel, absolutely smash through Dan Jones and cross over to win the game there for the Dragons.
Right.
So we're gonna back the Dragons. I'm gonna back the Ospreys, and Ben's gonna back the Blues. But there we go. That is our preview ahead of the Rainbow Cup for the Welsh Regions and our thoughts on how they should look to approach it. If you have enjoyed, make sure to subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. Check out our channels, all linked down below. Like the video if you've enjoyed, and of course, get your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon here on the Welsh Rugby Roundup Show.